All right. Apparently, I'm live. That took a little longer than normal, so hopefully nothing's messing about my internet. I see two people here, which is awesome. Um, yeah, it's been a bit. I'm gonna wait for a few more people to show up before and also find out like if the audio is okay before I start the stream in earnest. Does hey ho 9090 mean that the audio is okay? Yes, good. I am like so paranoid about the audio going off because I have no idea what the hell sets it off. So, like, man, it's just a weird thing. All right, so I have been somewhat absent and vague talking about what's been going on, why things have been so weirdly choppy over the last 2 months now. So back in September, I had an acquaintance. I don't want to give too much information because I don't. The person has a private life. I don't want to put down any breadcrumbs and have someone try and figure out who they are. So I had an acquaintance who had gotten in trouble with the law. Their spouse was abusive and an alcoholic, and according to them, through misunderstandings, not only did they get arrested, but they also had their children taken by the province. And all they needed was a place to stay because apparently the court was really open to house arrest because she's apparently not a nonviolent criminal. I said I can do that. I mean, you just got to work through this hardship, and you just need a place to stay. She couldn't stay with her mom because her mom's living in a senior facility, and she wasn't allowed to have guests for any length of time, any significant amount of time. So it was an emergency. No one else in her family could take this person. So I took them in, and it's no one. I was in contact with the person's lawyers and everything, and no one actually told me all the details until after the person was in my house or my apartment or my home. And I know enough that if someone is working on themselves, they just need a little bit of support to do certain things. But it turns out that this person I'd taken into my home had multiple mental illnesses, also fighting off multiple addictions, anxiety issues, and a whole bunch of other stuff that needs real serious professional help. Um, um, it very rapidly deteriorated to the point where I was dreading just encountering this person in my apartment. And so I gave up the situation. I brought her back to court, and which puts her back in prison. So hopefully she can get the help she needs. But it just became horrid, and it was actually that person's presence that kind of really derailed the entirety of my October. And that's why Witchtober didn't go the way as planned. I was struggling to just get anything done. I'm like stupidly far behind on email. If I don't see the email coming in, I don't respond. I'm like weeks behind an email. I gotta go back and dig through. I think I'm on top of all my assignments. In fact, like there's some layouts I'm supposed to send to Leonard for Second Coming. I completely forgot about it until he actually messaged me on Facebook. So that's when I got the layouts for him. So I think I'm getting on top of things, but it was a terrible 7 weeks really. And then the election happened, and that was a bit of a sucker punch for anyone who actually cares about people. Yeah, and so that's put me in a bit of a state. So I'm like, been spending a big chunk of the last week, reaching out to my friends, making sure they're okay emotionally. I mean, despite having this current situation, like if I have American friends who feel they're at risk, I mean, of course I'm gonna make I had to replace the couch. The other person destroyed my couch. I'm not going to go into details of that. Just basically, it's like what the person did to my couch over the course of one weekend made the entire apartment smell. And so the couch had to be thrown. I brought a cleaner and they said, we can't clean that. Threw out the couch, and first part of my new couch just arrived today, which is good. So things are, I'm recovering. I'm deeply disappointed in myself that I didn't have the expertise that this person needed to help them get through their issues. When you want to help someone, you invest in helping them. That seems, and then it's like if you can't help them, it feels like you've invested badly. So yeah, so that was essentially the last 2 months. All right, so what's going to happen next is I said this I think in the very last stream I did before everything got derailed. I'm going to be shifting to Witchy Wednesdays again, and to allow myself to catch up on all these things that have been dropped over the last little bit. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Witchtober strip and I'm going to finish it on Witchy Wednesdays. I got a bunch of strips banked now, so I'm starting this week coming up. Every Wednesday is going to be the new Witchy Wednesday strip until that entire story's done, and we're well past. Oh, I'm almost done, but we were I think at the halfway point when I had to stop this. And Thursdays are going to be promo for the Viking horror book, We Bring Only Death. I just got an update from my son. He's building me a nice wooden model longship, so I can use it as reference when needed. Sorry, probably time to get paper ready for drawing. So yeah, so Wednesdays and Thursdays and Sundays are going to be key points in terms of like communicating what's going on with everything. Yeah, I had that thought. My ex, who is actually a trained clinical psychologist, had said a few times that would be a good one, which is, nice. But I saw the emotional toll it took on her. So yeah, you need a special skill set and you need a certain disposition to weather that. So it turns out I'm too sensitive. So yeah. So that's what happened with the last 2 months. I still thought I remember when I took the person and saying it's a good thing I decided not to do the campaign, and then everything went even worse. I couldn't even finish the month, the October, which is another thing I'm beating myself up on over. So okay, so what I'm going to do tonight is I'm going to do this week and next week, assuming I'm healthy and everything, nothing happens, no meteors hit the planet or anything, knock on wood. So I'm going to pencil a few sketches for those Hero Initiative pieces, and then I'm going to ink them next week. So I'm just going to do nice loose pencils, just ease back into it on the paper over here. See if I can get this to the right height. How's that? Might fiddle with it more when I actually start drawing. But I also want to talk about some of the art books I got in the last week. So one of the things I want to do is online friend, incredibly talented cartoonist, Caitlin Yarsky. First issue of the series that she's writing and drawing just came out, and it looks cool. I love it when I always give priority to checking out a writer artist stuff. And she did the script, art, colors, and cover. She did everything but the lettering and the color flats. But I mean, I hire a flatter too, and I like giving them credits. I like that she gives the flatters here credits too. It's a beautiful, beautiful little book. First issue, I skimmed it. What I like to do is I'm going to buy the trade too because I'm dumb that way. I like supporting people I like. So I'll probably read this when I get like 2 or 3 issues in, and if I like them all, supporting for 2-3 issues guarantees I'll probably get a trade, and I'll buy the trade. But I'm also like throwing some shekels, help covering production costs. So Living Hill from Caitlin Yarsky from Dark Horse just came out this week. Good book. The other thing, okay, so there's this amazing not safe for work artist named Vinny on Instagram. I could probably pull him up on my phone, but I don't. And I can't go through, as you can see. So These are all drawings from a notebook that's slightly smaller than this book itself. And this book is about 6 by, that's 7.5, 8, something like that. Is there anything I can share? Hang on. So I know he censored some of the work he put up on Instagram. Oh, look, I can share that drawing. So I can share that drawing, but I can't share the one under my hand because that's naughty as can be. Naughty-ish. Naughty-ish. Can't see anything there, but oh boy, that would get me in trouble if they read it wrong. And you know what? I can't show. The work's gorgeous. If you follow him on Instagram, see, I have his Instagram address in here. Maybe I can show it. It's only a limited run of 400 copies. Apparently, this is the second book, but with print runs of 400 copies and the guy being this good, there's no way in hell he has any more. It's volume 1. Oh, I can actually show this. So this apparently a photograph of the actual notepad he drew in. So 125 millimeters by 88 millimeters. So that's pretty small. And there's his title page, and she's clothed. So, great. And he has a little comic in here and beautiful little watercolor and pencil drawings all the way through this thing. So I can't show one of them. So I think it was with exchange and shipping and everything, it ended up being like about $100. But when you support artists, this is what you do. Hey, Tiago. And this is the book I was going to talk about, this book right here. Oops, something's falling off my drawing table. This is the book I wanted to talk about before I ended up having to cancel a session. What's the best way to get this elevated here? It doesn't need to be. Maybe I just pull the camera back again. I'm always moving the mic too. I'm also worried about, maybe screwing up the audio or something. So this book is upside down. See that legible? Fantasy Art Techniques of Tim Hildebrandt. Tim Hildebrandt was one of the 2 artist brothers, Tim and Greg Hildebrandt, who most famously, oh my God, 6123 Strathcona. I remember where I lived there. Okay. I got this book years ago. So I got as soon as it came out. As soon as I found out it came out, so I ended up getting the second printing. But yeah, Tim and Greg most famously painted the initial Star Wars poster. They did some Lord of the Rings calendars, which were incredible. Hey, there we go. Yeah, this is probably the most famous work they did. That's these guys. And reading an interview with them was really interesting. I was convinced that this was black paint. Apparently, it's just a value shift thing where it's almost like as dark as they could go with purple. And the deadline of this was so tight, they ended up tag teaming painting it. Literally, they're twin brothers. So they just literally swapped it in and out, working on it because they had to get it done the next day. And it was all acrylic. So some Lord of the Rings paintings. So talented. And what brought it up is that his surviving sibling passed away 2 weeks ago. So I think, was it 2 weeks ago that I was going to do this? This looks like ink and watercolor. It's been a while since I read it. His use of color is insane. Both of them, both their use of color was insane. And weirdly enough, there's kind of in this, I always described his paintings as chunky. And I don't know if that comes across on the screen, but if you actually get to see high resolution versions of his painting, go look him up online, look for a real high res. There's a thickness to the paint that makes it you can feel the painting. Whereas in a similar vein, Wyeth NC Wyeth could have painted this, not any of the other ones. And he probably would have handled the clouds in a way where they felt they were in the sky, not like solid objects. So that's one of the things where it's I felt that The Hildebrandt's color sense was amazing, and was slightly underdone by some of their drawing. I believe Tim almost always put his wife's face on every woman he painted when he could. And as a result, there's a specific type of face that all his women have. And not all, but very specific when it's called for a certain specific face. He does that. Like, this doesn't look like his wife. That doesn't look like his wife. Certainly, that's definitely not his wife. But that's his wife's face. You can tell by the bone structure. That's his wife's head, bone structure. Generic to her face up, made her younger. It's just structural stuff. And sometimes it works when you don't let it get in the way. And he's always using photo reference. I mean, she's got the exact same proportions whenever he uses his wife, which is, I guess, good, competent, but a little stiff too. But I'm gonna skip ahead a bit here because he does talk about painting. Yeah. See, you can see his wife's face there in black and white. So he does some tonal studies, pen and ink. I don't feel he's great in pen and ink or graphite. These feel like preliminaries to doing their paintings, which is fine. And it's probably better than a lot of people, but it's just there's a certain flatness to their work when it's in black and white. They don't seem to capture the depth the same way. Now, if I was a student, I did that work, I'd be ecstatic. But as a professional looking at this, you're like, oh, here we go. We get to follow the entire steps here. Here we go. So pencil study. So he transfers the drawing to a board, and then he starts painting in areas. And he knows his palette going in. He's using sheets of aluminum foil to move it. He's mixing up vast areas of color, and he's painting through the area. And it's acrylic, so everything's going to dry. So by doing like this, I think Joe Jusko works similarly, where he paints a whole area using the colors he needs for that area. And he knows his palette really well, so he can jump around and do other stuff. Here's more of the painting done. Hopefully I don't get any glare. See the areas where he hasn't touched anything. He's really just focusing on the environment and the lighting. So if you get the environment and the color, lighting properly, all your reflected light and ambient light really works for itself. And then the final, looks like they probably should have got a professional to photograph this because there's a weird bit of light, ambient light hitting his painting, and you're seeing the surface texture here at the bottom. You're not seeing the colors he chose, which is a little weird because you can see how dark they are here, but it's like there's light reflecting off the painting here. Pretty cool. Let's see the black and white stuff again. Painting the color. If I remember correctly, there's another neat little bit as he goes through his process in here. There's his wife again. There's his wife again. Oh, that's his wife. That's his wife again. That's his wife again. All these paintings of his wife. That's a pretty cool looking werewolf. I think considering the printing process available at the time, that's his wife again. That intensity of color, that weird kind of chunkiness of the color probably made them pop compared to the other book covers around at the time. Not his wife. Mainly, honestly, at this point, it's like first thing I look at is the arms because he has very specific arms. That's the wife. She has proportionally shorter arms than the other model. That's the wife. I should learn her name if I talk about this again. Oh, there's a Barbarella painting. It must be for a reissue. Yeah, reissue Barbarella 1979. Look at that. Look at the lighting in that. Look at that. That's incredible. You have the illumination hitting the figures in shadow, right? The sky's super dark because this is Saruman sending the cloud, so his forces can fight, but there's some light coming through at the horizon. Eowyn and the Witch King are being illuminated, and just the way he's handling. There's from what I studied about color, when you transition to shadow, when the sun's going down on the horizon, there's a spectrum shift. So there's going to be a little bit more intense color coming in, and just in the fading edge of color of light. So that should be happening everywhere consistently, but it's not happening here, which flattens the work a little bit. And despite the intensity of the light hitting the Nazgul here, this color is while the sun would be hitting it, would flatten it. Look how flat all the white surfaces are here. It would have been. It should have been on his mind to actually add some additional color in this, so it's not just this flat, washed out yellow ochre. In fact, I think some of the straight up advertising work he does is actually better in his fantasy work. Just for like how he tends to go over the top. Like look at this painting for the jeans. It's in his wheelhouse, but the quality of the color and the light just seems a little stronger. Here's another Star Wars painting. I think this book hasn't gone into a third print. I'd be surprised if it did, because I've never seen it since I got the second printing. But this is a great informational book on painting. Fantasy Art Techniques of Tim Hildebrandt, written by Jackie Norton, and was published by Paper Tiger, who I do not think exists anymore as a publisher. So who knows? Maybe someone like Titan will pick it up. It's pretty good stuff. Let's see here. Yeah, there's a period when I was looking for artists on top of Frazetta. Everyone immediately said Boris, which I thought was fine. Boris is incredibly talented, not entirely to my taste in terms of how he approaches the work, but he's incredibly skilled. I found the Hildebrandts had a better sense of composition and light, but I found their medium handling was, again, chunky and a little off-putting. As I'm older, I now appreciate them for what they did really, really well. And what they didn't do well doesn't bother me as much, if that makes sense. I found there's more classic illustrators I lean towards in terms of liking more than that 70s, 80s bracket of fantasy artists. I mean, I love Jeffrey Jones, who worked very much in a N.C. Wyeth Rosetta mold. Bernie Wright and Barry Windsor Smith, Michael Kaluta, the people who came from comics, perfect. Everyone else was like, there was a guy who painted all the White Gold Wielder novels. I'm trying to remember the name of the author. Thomas the Covenant novels, I believe the series was called. It was a guy who had leprosy. And he went to another fantasy world. Yeah, Soda Shannara. That was something. Yeah, I think is it Daryl Sweet? That might be the name of the artist I'm thinking of. He did very, very highly rendered paintings with a slight stylized approach to the drawing. I was really, really talented, but I found he did a Tolkien calendar, which actually turned me off on his work. His elves were the least interesting elves I'd ever seen. But you jump to today, and there's an artist named Justin Sweet who paints all digitally, and it looks like everything he does is in oil. It's amazing. It's amazing. All right, so I have this pad of paper in front of me, and a desire to draw some characters who I can use to help raise money for the Hero Initiative. So I did some of these a few weeks ago. I put them away to keep them safe, so I'm not going to try and dig them out now. So what time? Oh, it's already at 7:30. All right. So I was only planning to go till around 8:30, depending on like what I'm working on. Do you guys have any preferences for a comic book character? Because we're talking about the Hero Initiative. A comic book character you think I should draw to help raise money for the Hero Initiative? The suggestions are open. I mean, everything's going to go to Hero Initiative So if anyone wants to buy any of these, they have to buy it from them. But at least you get to choose, or I have a word in choosing what I draw. Because I'm kind of inclined to draw the Hulk, but some other people might want to see me draw something different. Green Lantern. Which one? There's like a billion of them. Ow. All right. So the classic Green Lantern. All right. Just a heads up. I got told that for some reason, for all these vague charity things, apparently Marvel characters do the best. They have the biggest fan things, and then characters that people are known for, like pretty much every time I draw Hellboy, the piece sells. So I draw a lot of Hellboy because for either raising money for me or for a charity, I want it to sell. Out Gil Kane. No, I think it's a little late to out Gil Kane. As far as I know, he was never gay, and he's passed on. Sorry, that was terrible. One wonderful thing about working on Bond, I said this before, is I get to work in the size that I want. And when I transfer I'll transfer these to these Hero Initiative boards. I can resize it so it fits on the board perfectly. He's thinner than this. Hang on. That jaw coming down there. I threw pork tenderloin into a slow cooker earlier today, and oh my god, it smells so good. So my dinner's sorted. More often than not, on the stream night, I'll order something after the stream, just because I'm tired. Weirdly, it takes a lot out of me doing the stream. I don't know why. I think because I go in stressed that my sound's going to go crazy every time. Daredevil would be fun. I haven't drawn Daredevil. I think Daredevil was one of the early, when I was opening these up for commissions every week. I think Daredevil was one of the early ones that got chosen. And so I think that was the last time I've drawn Daredevil. So thinking of Green Lantern, so the rumor I just heard, now I have more people who are doing production work at Marvel. So I used to get more reliable spoilers out of Marvel than DC. Although it's weird, it's like when Watchmen was happening, some of the production people that worked on the initial movie were still tight in there at Warner Brothers. So I got to hear a bunch of that shit coming out, including like when there was one point when Grant Morrison and oh god, what's his name? The guy used to work for the guy who wrote the Green Lantern arc where he brought Hal back. I'm blanking on his name. But when he and Grant were going to do Watchmen, I immediately got a phone call from one of my friends who said, "Hey, so you're the comic guy we know. So we're hearing that they're going to be making the Watchmen movie. You heard anything about this?" And I'm like, no. He said, "Well, this is what we hear, that they're actually, doing more Watchmen comics." And I'm like, they can't do more Watchmen comics. Alan Moore doesn't want to write any of them. If Alan Moore's not writing them, I don't really think it's going to find the audience. But it turned out to be Grant Morrison and damn it, I'm drawing a blank on his name. Jeff Johns. Yes, Jeff Johns. Thank you, Anson. That they thought they had a way to break the Watchmen into a decent comic series, because Dan DiDio was desperate to have like a big hit, and so I mentioned I had heard two different versions. So I heard the versions from my production people, and then this is back when I was friends with Ethan Van Sciver. He went and he immediately called me to brag that he was, Jeff Johns wanted him to work on the Watchmen project. And I'm like, back in my head, I'm going, he was my friend at that point, so I couldn't say this shit to him in his face, but he has no business being around a book that has to be storytelling driven. But so I'd mentioned that I heard about it, and that some of the stuff I heard was different from what was online in the online news sites. And all of a sudden I'm being quoted because I just corrected something on one of the online news sites. And then I'm hearing that by confirming that it actually existed, which at that point I thought was already confirmed, scotched the whole project. So I saved the world from bad Watchmen comics for a few years anyway. If that's when they bury me and they go, "What good has he done?" It's like, forget the food banks, forget helping women's charities in the Middle East, forget all that stuff that Richard does, forget all the Hero Initiative stuff Richard does. He stopped us from getting a Watchmen comic for a few years. So hilarious. I haven't drawn Hal in like forever. So I'm going like, I don't like that mouth at all. Eyes might be too big too, but I know that when you have the mask, the eyes should look a little bit bigger. So I want this coming down there. Way too high up here. It's also because I haven't drawn any of the hair on him yet, but it's making it look weird. But nose is wrong too, but I'll fix it in a bit. Man, I'm just rusty as all heck. Yeah, I almost, my buddy Bill Sienkiewicz got asked to ink one of them because Joe Kubert passed away, and he's friends with the Kubert family. And they specifically asked for him to ink it. Can't remember if it was the Rorschach book or one of the other ones. That was the only one I came close to buying, just because apparently Bill hand waved royalties so the Kubert estate could get all the royalties too. At least that's what I heard. Bill didn't say anything about it, but I heard it from other sources, which makes me think it sounds like a Bill sort of thing to do. Mouth is too full, nose is wrong. Should probably use an actual eraser for this, and the one on the back of my pencil, because I'll just destroy the lead. I mean, Adam Hughes is almost. I almost bought his book. I mean, but I just couldn't. I remember how defensive some of the creators involved got. I mean, Darwin Cook yelled at me on a convention floor because of some of the stuff I did in response to his Watchmen run. I actually did a couple of strips about it back when I did weekly, what I thought were funny strips. I mean, yeah, I get that Darwin did it because he had cancer bills to pay, but he wasn't telling anyone that. And I think that would have taken a lot of the heat off him because he'd said a few things in the lead up to him doing Watchmen about creators not being original and ripping stuff off and everything, and suddenly he's doing Watchmen because Dan DiDio offered it to him and he realized he'd make a shit ton of money off of it. But it was pretty. I'd say it was pretty hilarious. Darwin Cook coming up to me after a panel and someone apparently brought up my strips, and Darwin was like really, really, really angry with me. He said, "Why didn't you call me?" I said, "Why the fuck would I have done that?" So I'm sitting at my table in Artist Alley, and he's like yelling at me, and I'm not giving. I don't know what he expected me to do. I understand he's like he had a reputation for being a fighter. I don't think that would have ended well for him if he tried anything with me like that. Even not knowing he had cancer, he was like this stick of a man. I knew he was an alcoholic and a cigarette smoker, so I probably wouldn't have fought him anyway, even if he hit me. It's just there's no benefit to it for him or me. So yeah. So there was just, I mean, I got to tell you. So I thought even the HBO series where David Lindelof came in and he basically wrote what he thought was a love letter to Watchmen. To me, I went in, didn't plan to watch it. A bunch of key friends said, "Oh no, you got to watch this because it's doing it with respect." And I think that was somewhat true up until the finale when well, I don't. Can I spoil the Watchmen TV series? Is it spoiler free or can I talk about it because it's been out for like 4 or 5 years? Don't know. Can I talk about it? Yeah, I will. I will. The fact that Dr. Manhattan gives all his godlike power to a cop who clearly has anger issues was a big problem for me. I don't think if there's nothing else, Watchmen was the argument that no one should have that much power. And there's a guy who does a TV series about crazy cops as superheroes, but none of them are superheroes, but they're cops. And then one of these crazy cops gets superpowers. And I'm like, dude, you didn't get it. Oh, so close. So close. So this isn't terrible. I'm thinking, do I want the face like that? See if I can. His lips look a little too full. Figured Hal would have like that kind of more of a line for a mouth, smaller lips. I'm going slow with this too. You erased the drawing and I blew here. Lol. I'm sorry, I'm missing that one. I'm not quite sure what you're trying to say there. I'm slow. I even had some like insomnia over the last few weeks. That was it was a difficult couple of months. Now, so what I might do, I might stop here because this is mostly turn it upside down, take a look at it. Nothing jumping out at me. Oh yeah, that's wrong. So when I talk about like looking at a drawing in the mirror, this is part of the reason why I like using Bond is because I flip it over and it's so translucent. I can just find it. Look at that angle. It doesn't really show up when you're looking at the angle I drew it at, but look at it. Everything's leaning that way. Everything's like leaning that way. So if I have like a nice center line for the head, so this obviously has to come back here more. That has to go up here. Let's get the jaw right. So if this is the center line, comes up to the forehead, comes up there, up like that, down, straight, down, straight. All right, so this is the skull hairline coming through there. Teeth are coming down through there, so this has to come out there. So I shaved off all this part of the jaw, thinking it was too much, when it actually is the right amount. And teeth are here, so the jaw's going to kind of like that. That works. So some of these things, some of these reference points worked. Okay, so the jaw's coming through there. Sternocleidomastoid's going there, so his neck is a little thicker, so that's throwing it off. Now let's push this in here. I get that. I feel bad for Ron Mars who wrote all that stuff. He was given a job. I think he did a fairly decent job for what it was. I'm not a big fan of like, oh, let's take this major good guy and make him a bad guy. I feel it's intrinsically a betrayal of the audience because these people invest emotionally into these characters, and it's yeah, I get it's a stunt. So, anyway, so this is coming through here. Damn, it's been a while since I've actually studied neck muscles. I think I'm gonna have to do that again soon. Yeah, here we go. Okay, so I can see the lines here. There we go. Yeah, there's lines coming out through here. Hairline's going down through there. Actually, looks a little sad too. There we go. So And then the symbol's down here, goes in the shows, comes off the shoulders like in a scoop. So if I do this, I'm probably, yeah, I kind of, I liked Stephen Grant's run on Green Lantern for a bit. So Stephen Grant, damn it, I might be right. Joe Staton drew it in the 80s. I kind of liked his version of it. And then the whole Parallax thing happened, and I tapped out. When I was a kid, I kind of fantasized about being Green Lantern, even though I didn't think the adventures were good. They were too earthbound, which I think was intentional by the people at DC. Because I have a feeling that at the time, straight space adventure wasn't as popular. But I really felt that, I was a huge fan of like science fiction and watching like Cosmos and other stuff. I thought it would be brilliant to have the defining characteristic of Green Lantern being fighting weird shit in space. And what we got was weird space shit landing on Earth all the time. Yeah, I get that. I had a similar reaction when they killed Robin. I felt that was brutal, unnecessarily so, cruel, exploitative. And I wish I didn't do it, but now it's like, now we have like Dead Robin is a big, you have to blame Frank Miller for it, of course, but Dead Robin is a big part of the Batman lore. At some point, a Robin's going to die, and they're just going to use it to I don't know, make Batman seem darker, and that if that seems at all possible these days. Okay, so I'm not in love with this one yet, but I feel I got most of the kinks out of it. That this can serve as the decent start for a nice Green Lantern piece I can ink next week. But what I'll do is, as a warm up, I'll draw the torso to go and get the costume right, and I'll merge them together in Photoshop and print them in blue line onto the Hero Initiative paper. How are we doing? It's almost 8. Okay, you know what? Instead of doing a figure now, I'll draw a different character. I am leaning towards Hulk. They were. I think the thing that worked for me is when I was a little kid, my stepfather used to take my family back and forth between Winnipeg and Calgary because I had relatives in both cities. So we live in Calgary for a couple of years. We live in Winnipeg for a couple of years, but we also visit back and forth. And that was pretty much every summer. So every summer I got the big fat bags of comics from Kmart. And they would always have those DC giant size comics. And that's where I got to see all these Golden Age DC characters for the first time, these stories, like the early Batman, the early Green Lantern. Like, of course, I'd go through, and the coolest looking ones would be the most recent ones. So I'd read those initially, throwing them into the footwell as they lay in the backseat of the car. But the trips are so long. I mean, a drive from Winnipeg to Calgary is like a drive from Minnesota to not quite Seattle, not quite that far. But it's a pretty long drive. It's basically it's a drive from Minnesota to the Rockies. So that's like the drive from Winnipeg to Calgary. And so that was my first reading a lot of Kirby, because if it was a DC pack in the early 70s, a lot of the remainder comics were the comics that were just overprinted. Oh, hang on a second. Alexa, stop. All right, go ahead. The alarm go off. My dinner's ready. Yeah, so I got to read a lot of Commandy, which is really weird. OMAC, I read the first issue of OMAC in one of those card trips. And I got to tell you, his girlfriend in the box did weird things in my head for years. Yeah, for me, the Hulk is Marvel's monster book that they never really quite make a monster book. Um, Hulk's the book about cosmic scale. He's the pivot point where um, the big events can happen. That's my thought process on the Hulk. And so many times when they try and make it a character study of someone who's gone through abuse, again the stories of abuse. There's some really stuff that's been done with the Hulk, and a lot of it outside the parameters of what I think the Hulk is really there for. Um, I mean, the Hulk should just really be nonstop crazy action, and if he's human in other books. That's I'm exaggerating. But I'm just saying it's like I would probably if Marvel handed me the Hulk to write, one issue would be set up, the next issue would be nothing but crazy over the top action. Literally like just 20 page. I think it's just 20 pages now a month. Just 20 pages of Hulk action that just goes crazy, like destroying buildings, destroying like partially destroying spaceships, planetoids, asteroids, giant monsters that used to litter the Marvel landscape. Have them show up and just have help deal with them. I mean, there is enough drama inherent in the Marvel universe that, in fact, I'm going to draw the Hulk. There's enough drama in the Marvel universe that anything Hulk does will immediately have repercussions. So I don't know that you need to come up with like I picked up Immortal Hulk, I think it was. English writer. He's written some really good stuff. So I enjoyed his Everything's Monsters. Um, I like that take. But I really like it would I would probably trying to think of a good way to say it. Say I have an issue where I set up what has happened since the last big Hulk event. And you have Shield and you have the Avengers and everyone's like already like, yeah, I mean, did the Hulk go too far? Well, we have to keep an eye on because in the past the Hulk's done this. So it's like suddenly there's a Hulk watch, right? And it's basically Hulk is just trying to survive, and he's like stuck being an immortal in this body that is only designed to react to the most lethal environmental stresses and and deal with them violently. I think there's lots of stuff to mine just with that. I could be wrong. Oh God, yeah. Honestly, it took the Kirby's Thor work for me to realize how good he was. And honestly, Wolverine is God. He's so overdone now, isn't he? And it's I feel bad for anyone having to do it. Benjamin Percy's doing some really cool stuff. Wolverine. Every once in a while, I just grab something because Ben's such a good writer. I'm kind of done with Marvel stuff, really. But I'll occasionally pick up something that Ben's doing, and it's just he knows how to put a story together so well that I mean he could write a character I have no idea about. Well, I mean, create our own stuff, but he could write a Marvel character I know nothing about, and I would give it a shot because he's just that good a writer. So if you're looking for a good writer to get into at Marvel, Ben Percy's is tops. He's actually got a great. He's got some great novels. I wish I'm blanking names on them. I used to be in a pro group with him and a bunch of other people, and he talked about his novels there. So I read a couple of there. I also picked up his book about writing called Thrill Me, and he's got some great approach to the whole of it. So yeah, I really recommend Ben Percy. Oh, I mean, these teeth look a little small to me. Yeah, let me make this a little bit bigger. Not quite Hellboy big, but Hulk big. Big, big, chunky teeth. I think that bottom part of the jaw is a little too compressed right now. Here. Yeah, I am now at the point where if the word of mouth is good, I'll pick up a trade of a Marvel or DC series. I'm hearing, I gotta say, the whole Absolute line. I've yet to hear anyone say anything bad about any of the new Absolute Batman, Superman, or Wonder Woman. Um, I actually sat through a very visual review of the Batman book, and to be honest, I was largely disinterested, just because he looked like, honestly, he looked like the Hulk in a Batman suit, which wasn't doing it for me. But I like the guy's artwork, right? So it's one of those things where it's like he's drawing something well in a style, in an approach I'm not a big fan of. Yeah, this is a really squished down Hulk face, isn't it? I mean, I could. What would be faster to do? Let me just figure out what's the better part drawing here. I think I'm gonna pull this up here. That nostril's more high than that one. I haven't drawn a raged out Hulk in a while. Yeah, I saw how big they drew Bruce, and it's huge. It's almost. I mean, it's like I love Tim Sale, but it's like, we had Tim Sale. We don't need another um, excessive take on that. Um, think about the lighting on this. Nose is off center a bit. I gotta say, it's like the only weakness I see in it so far is the art style, the visuals, and to be honest, the only visual that bothers me in the least is the approach to Batman. I think Alfred is done perfectly. I think Gordon's done well. I think that was Gordon I saw. Again, I'm trying to hold off for the trade now because it's I haven't seen the issues yet, and I don't know if I'll end up missing out on them. Lean towards viewer. Yeah. Yeah, I mean the Kirby. Hey Diego. No, a lot of times what I'll do is I'll do all this work at whatever size I feel I want to draw at, and then I scan it in Photoshop and I print it out at the size I want to ink it in light blue on the artboard. It considering how crappy art paper has gotten in the last 30 years, it's one of the first things I moved to when I realized that, I buy it like a nice piece of really expensive Strathmore Bristol, and suddenly my lines are caterpillaring everywhere because they didn't size the board properly. Not a great experience at, when your material fails you and everything else is nickel diming you to death. So yeah, to save the wear and tear on the paper I ink on. I try and do as much work off the paper as possible because all this erasing and redrawing and the oils from my hand going down the paper. I used to wear gloves when I was drawing, just to reduce the amount of damage I could be doing to the paper with just the oils in my coming out of my fingers. Terrible. But now that I'm working on very disposable, forgettable paper, I do all this drawing. I don't care if it turns out right. I can just throw it off and start over again. And as you'll see, like if you come back next week, I'll be inking these. I'll ink this and the Green Lantern one, assuming I'm happy with what the Green Lantern shows off when I get to the finished part of it. If I'm working with oils again, I'd be wearing gloves. Acrylics, I'm not worried about. If I was using enamels or something like that, I would also be wearing gloves. Yeah, gloves were basically just to keep the oils off the board when I was penciling and inking start to finish on one piece of paper. Now that I can do a page of multiple different sheets of paper, assemble it all. Everything's penciled. I can cover up the areas I'm not inking when I am inking. Makes a huge difference too. I'm not in love with this. I mean, it's a huge mess. I mean, the one eye's floating way down here. The teeth aren't right. The lower jaw's not right. I didn't really conceptualize the structure of the head before I started drawing. I just started drawing, which happens. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. In this case, it's not working. I'll only start another one in a second here. Just want to wipe off some of the graphite from my hands so I'm not. I still clean my hands between working on drawings and different pieces of paper just to reduce the overwhelming amount of graphite going everywhere. That's fine. I think I keep these around my studio like crazy, both for painting like with the airbrush or acrylics or gouache, or just cleaning the graphite off my hand. Yeah, that helped. I'm looking at it on my laptop right now, and it's just not there. It's just not there. Huh. Digital is it took me a while to get used to it. Like I still do a lot of like my comics coloring work digitally. Um, yeah, this helps. I'm not gonna. I think it's 2 years. So, that was not working. But yeah, it's. I also find that if I'm using oils, I'd probably wear like latex gloves, and then your hand sweats like crazy. But it forces breaks more often. With digital, it's a learning curve. The undo button is huge. Control Z. It allows you to uh, basically eradicate any mistake you want. Generally, you can go back iterations of mistakes too. And with layers, you can like it's like oh my god, layers. I mean, one time I was working on drawing, it was really complicated, and I knew I had to do it digitally because if I did it in traditional media, it would have been crazy. I ended up drawing like 20 different layers just to get. It was for a movie. It was a concept thing for a movie. I don't even know if they finished making it. I don't think they did. But I ended up drawing because it was like all these different layers. I had to like draw overlapping, and you could see all different parts of it. It just was stupidly insane. I think it's like 30 layers. Yeah, but I mean, each digital is a media. I remember in the early days there was like there's some weirdos, a community of people that grew up spread it off from the Magic the Gathering trading card artists. They actually wanted to create a guild of traditional only artists, and because they saw, I mean, it's very much weird. It's like so when people talk negatively about AI art, they use a lot of the same language that these guys used about digital art. And the big difference is the guys were wrong about digital art. I mean, it just there are people who would like literally drop in a photograph or something, but I mean, no art director will let that go in terms of like backgrounds and stuff. I mean, at the time, maybe now because of AI, but digital artists work just as hard as traditional artists. Now AI does all the work, so ugh, I mean, you're basically all you do is you type out your paragraph and you kind of go, oh shit, that's not right. Um, it's still fighting against AI. It's still, thankfully, prohibitively expensive to operate. The fact that every AI developer is losing money hand over fist is a good sign for the future. Um, you know what? I would never push someone to use a medium they're uncomfortable with. I got friends who still do everything traditional. I got friends who do everything digital now, and they started off traditional. You find the way that you're most comfortable working, and stick with it. I mean, that's just it. I like experimenting, so that means I have a lot of experience with digital and traditional. Um, if I guess if I stayed completely away from one at some point, like if I switched completely over to digital, I'd be that much better at digital, but I'd probably bored to tears. Um, yeah. Yeah, I have to think that there's just no way that AI can afford to keep going at the rate it's going, because NFTs they're still out there because so many people sunk so much money in them, but they're dead. I mean, no one is really investing serious money into NFTs anymore. I mean, every once in a while, someone will cough out something, and they'll go, "Oh, they're still making NFTs?" And you're like, "Yeah, I guess so." But it turns out it's just like, some guy hanging on to trying to get back the money they lost last time they tried doing NFTs. Oh gosh, who am I drawing? Who am I drawing? Probably the one Marvel character one non-Marvel character who sells that easy. Let's draw Batman. Oh gosh, it's already 8:14. Damn. Yeah, failed Hulk will eat up a lot of time. All right, so I'm going to go over what I talked about at the top of the stream. Starting Wednesdays from next Wednesday on, these will be Witchy Wednesdays, and that's why I'm going to run the rest of the Arachne comic strip. As soon as that's done, I'm probably going to make a little limited edition print one comic book of it, do a cover and everything. With the idea we're using it as a promotion for the Coven collection of short stories next October, which would be awesome. Thursdays are going to be promoting the Viking stuff. I've been working on as time allowed, working on the new Viking cover. I found the incomplete Seven Romans tribute, and not the Howard Pyle tribute, and I like it. Not for a placeholder, so I'm going to finish it at some point, but I don't think it's the effective cover that I initially thought it was, looking at how it's developing. I do that a lot, especially as I get older. I fall out of love with the piece I'm working on. It's a thing. This ice could be a little bit lower. I can raise the jaw a bit, and then suddenly it's fine. Yeah, the ice should be lower. It's just too high. A vape? I think you mean cape. The cape is traditional. I get it, especially when you draw him jumping. I think the Batman in the movies probably should get rid of the cape. Although they can do some pretty amazing shots with that cape, can't they? Maybe they won't. I might actually do this painting. I have Another Batman painting I started for somebody who did a commission, but I actually like this drawing better, so I might actually turn this into that painting. Oh yeah. I figured if he had a high tech bat suit that actually had like a trench coat, um, him being Batman, it would be nothing for that trench coat to contain the apparatus to turn into a flying wingsuit. Plus, he'd be able to have more bat gear, all those special toys hidden away inside his trench coat. In fact, now I'm inspired to actually maybe draw a Batman trench coat Batman. That would be kind of cool, I think. Oh, I like that. All right, how are we doing here? Ooh, 8:19. All right, so I already talked about Witchy Wednesdays, Thursdays, which would be the Viking promo. I'm still going to keep doing the streams. Next week, I'm going to ink one or two, or maybe three if I pencil another one of these on stream. Not sure what I'm going to do the week after. I have because I'm so busy. I do have 2 commission openings I can offer. I'm not going to be posting online. I'm just going to be talking about here. I have 2 commission spots opening. If you wanted to commission something for yourself or for a friend or a family member for Christmas, I have 2 spots available. And that's all I'm going to be able to do this year. So no big Christmas sale. Sorry. I might do a Patreon sale for like a big discount, like a 25-30% off discount through my Patreon for my art shop. I got a whole bunch of art and covers and stuff I got to add to it. So I think what I might do is, again, as things continue to settle down, find a time, put up a whole bunch of new stuff on the shop, and then have a Christmas sale. I'm not a huge fan of sales, but I usually want to, swap out commissions instead of like sales. But with only 2 spots available, might do the sale. So in the air for that. So please come back next Sunday night, 7 p.m. Watch me ink these babies, at least the Green Lantern and the Batman one. Unless I paint that, and then I'll be doing something else. Actually, you know what? I dug out that Etrigan piece. A whole bunch of people wanted me to leave it as is. See if it's in arm's reach. I just saw it like. As I say, so the Etrigan piece I was working on a while ago. A bunch of people said they wanted me to leave it as is because they thought this was finished, and it wasn't finished by my standards. I might actually finish this. There's a bigger push not to go to color. I get, although I think this would look quite lovely in color. I think I might finish this during a stream too. It's just lying there. I also got a couple other paintings I was working on. That might be good things to work on over the holiday if I got time. All right, everybody. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already done so. If you want to support me more directly, I have my $1 a month Patreon. There's usually not usually, but starting this year, I opened up a couple of slots for people to pay for a commission a year in advance. So just by a slightly higher thing. Those are coming up towards the end soon. In fact, Anzen's one of the guys who snagged one. So I don't know if he still wants quorum. He's got lots of time. And so when their commission expires, then I think they're dropping back to $1 a month. Then I'll open up a couple more spots for people if they're interested in doing the pay every month for a year and then get an 11x17 commission. So that's something that's coming up. It's in my Instagram, Richard_Pace on Instagram. I'm on Bluesky. I'm on Cara. But I think Instagram still, despite the fact that they keep wanting to mess with me all the time whenever I post a bum. Oh, you know what? Hang on. Speaking of bums, I got this book, again from Carrera Press. Great European reprints of pulpy, over-the-top, sexy horror art. posted just that cover, and it got slammed for showing too much nudity. Devastating. And you know what I might also do? I have some blank covers I picked up on a whim at the comic shop last time I was there. And we got Someone Who's Killing the Children, a Vampirella. I think I draw a pretty good Vampirella. A Red Sonja. I think I drew a pretty good Red Sonja too. And a Barbarella red cover, which I'm not quite sure how I'd handle. But I thought just that little bit of blue and purple back up here was kind of cute. So maybe I'll do something with the red. But I might do some sketch covers. I've been getting asked a lot if I'm going to do anything on. It's not Whatnot. It's an auction site that puts everything in placeholders. So I might do those sketch covers just to see what it's like to work on that. I think it's called Nerd Crawler. Yeah. You know what? That was one of the things that fell through because of what happened over the last 8 weeks. So Wonder Pens is still something I have to go to. This week coming up, I got a lot of work to do, and it looks like I'm doing a one-day road trip to Kingston, which is going to be exhausting. I might kill my Wednesday. Yeah, Wonder Pens is still a place I want to go. Yeah, so I look at their site and I go, "Ooh, I want that, I want that, I want that." I go there, I'll probably spend like $1,000 on pens. I'm just that terrible when it comes to stuff like that. All right, everybody, thank you so very much for coming out and hanging out with me. It's always great to see you guys. And always, if there's something you want to see me get into, you want me to dig into something educational, more informational, or talk more specifically about a specific artist, I'm more than happy to do a stream session on that. I think those can be helpful and educational. So you can either ask about them during stream, or if you think about it later, you can put it in the comment to the video, and give an opportunity. I would love to do deeper dives into some subjects. So again, you guys have a great week. I'm saying goodbye again and again and again. I blame my childhood growing up in Winnipeg, where saying goodbye to everyone at my family gatherings took an hour. So you guys have a great night, a great week, and I'll see you next Sunday. Bye.